Welcome to this explainer. You know, today we are tackling something that is literally one of the toughest things to navigate. How exactly do you rebuild intimacy when you're starting from a place of just total isolation? A lot of relationships hit this incredibly painful wall where communication simply dries up, the distance grows, and honestly, both partners end up feeling utterly alone. So we're going to look at a highly structured, chronological roadmap designed specifically to break through that exact wall. Just look at this stark contrast. We typically begin in this deeply painful state of isolation and silence, right? It's a place where our reactions are totally defensive, and self-protection is basically the only priority. But the ultimate goal, the light at the end of the tunnel, is profound connection, presence, intimacy, and true partnership. Now, the gap between those two realities, it can feel impossibly wide. But there is a bridge. So, here is the chronological roadmap we'll use to guide ourselves from point A to point B. We've got 1. The wall of silence. 2. Vulnerability and taking ownership. 3. Identifying your true needs. 4. Communicating and taking action. And finally, 5. The path to connection. Our guide for this whole journey is the complete VOICE model, which was created by certified sex therapist Ronnie Burke. This framework specifically maps out the journey from hidden feelings to real connection for men in sexless relationships. Though, I gotta say, the core principles here are deeply universal for absolutely anyone. Let's go ahead and establish our timeline for this transformation, because rebuilding intimacy definitely doesn't happen overnight. We're starting from day 0 of protective silence, moving through structured weeks of looking inward to process vulnerability and ownership, identifying needs, and then finally, around month 1, outwardly engaging. It's a very deliberate step-by-step progression.
All right, so we start at the very beginning of our timeline, the wall of silence, day 0, characterized by reaction, protection, and isolation.
I don't care, leave me alone, or it's easier not to ask. I mean, imagine how heavy those phrases feel in a quiet room. These aren't just passing, dismissive comments. They are heavy, heavy armor. We use these exact statements as a shield to hide our underlying pain, protect our egos, and ultimately just keep ourselves isolated. Moving right into week 1, we hit vulnerability and taking ownership, where we are strictly looking inward. The crucial turning point here is shifting your entire mindset to this really powerful first-person statement, I allow myself to feel. When you've spent months, maybe even years, relying on those protective voices to just numb out, giving yourself conscious permission to actually experience your feelings is a massive and, frankly, incredibly brave first step on this timeline. So vulnerability means breaking down that wall and actually naming the difficult emotions lurking beneath the surface. It means looking right in the mirror and admitting, hey, I feel profound loneliness or shame, fear, longing, or rejection. Simply naming the emotion is exactly what strips away its secret power to control you. Next up is ownership. And this requires adopting a brand new mantra. I take responsibility for what I feel. You are actively moving away from the idea that your partner somehow makes you feel a certain way. Instead, you're taking full ownership of your own emotional landscape. Here is where we observe our experiences, owning when we feel invisible, disconnected, unwanted, ashamed, hurt, afraid, or alone, all without casting an ounce of blame on our partner. You are simply taking an objective inventory of your internal reality. Saying I feel alone instead of you are ignoring me is literally the foundation of ownership. It changes the entire dynamic of the conversation you're eventually going to have. As we push into week 2, we arrive at identifying your true needs, which is all about discovering the actual needs behind those feelings. The transformation really continues to build as you look inward and confidently tell yourself, I understand what I truly need. We're basically moving past the pain now and starting to chart a very real course toward a solution. So what are these needs? These are the core human requirements hidden safely behind the feelings. Things like needing to matter, to feel chosen, desired, connected, accepted, and safe. Needing understanding, intimacy, and touch. If you feel rejected, the underlying need is to feel desired. If you feel invisible, your need is to matter. Understanding this connection gives you the exact vocabulary you need to bridge the gap with your partner later on. By month 1, we are finally ready to move outward with communicating and taking action, focusing on expressing and engaging. When you finally do speak, there is an absolute, non-negotiable golden rule. I speak from my experience, not from blame. Because let's face it, the moment you start pointing fingers, those defensive walls instantly go right back up. Speaking strictly from your own emotional experience is the absolute master key to keeping the door to connection wide open. This means expressing yourself with deep, radical honesty. You share how you feel clearly, you are upfront about what you need, and you make a specific request. But crucially, you also listen with genuine curiosity and you stay respectful and kind. You aren't just demanding that things change, right? You are respectfully inviting your partner into your inner world and basically saying, hey, can you meet me halfway? This builds into concrete action through 6 very deliberate steps. You start the conversation, you stay fully present, you physically or emotionally reach out. You consciously choose to respond rather than just blindly reacting. And when things get bumpy, because they will, you make the effort to repair and reconnect, which continuously builds that essential emotional safety for both of you. And finally, we arrive at the end of our chronological timeline, the path to connection, the new normal. This is where your guiding principles and your everyday vocabulary completely shift to things like, let's talk, let's connect, let's heal. Notice how dramatically different that sounds compared to day 0, where the default was just, leave me alone? You've completely replaced your heavy armor with an open, genuine invitation. And by walking this highly structured path, the outcomes we create are literally life-changing. We're talking profound connection, intimacy, trust, understanding, lasting emotional safety, and a totally revitalized partnership. You move from complete isolation into true partnership. You aren't just roommates coexisting anymore. You've consciously put in the work to build a real bond. So to take your very first step on this timeline today, I want you to ask yourself this provocative question that sits right at the center of the entire model. What am I really feeling? Seriously, stop hiding behind the wall. Take a moment, sit quietly with that question, allow the honest answer to surface, and let that be the exact starting point of your journey. The path back to intimacy is waiting. Are you ready to take the first step?